Hi everyone, it's Carrie, aka Nerdy Girl Creates, and welcome back to my channel. Today is Wednesday, and I wanted to do a review on the Disney Plus show Hawkeye. I didn't do individual episodes. I wanted to do just like a full series review because it was only 6 episodes, and my experience with the other Disney Plus shows was very trying. If you followed my reviews on like What If, you know how much I struggled to get through that. So I was kind of weary of actually even watching Hawkeye because of that experience. So I said, you know what, let me just watch all 6 episodes when they come out and I will give my review. So let's get into it. So Hawkeye pretty much picks up a few years, I'm guessing, after Endgame. And Clint is in New York City with his kids, taking them to a Broadway show that's based on the the events of the attack on New York from Avengers, the first movie. And it's corny, it sucks so bad that Clint, who is now hearing impaired, turns off his hearing aid, which, yeah, that musical scene was, yeah, I didn't like that scene at all. And to let you know, the after credits, if you didn't like that scene, don't watch the after credit, okay? I'll get into that later. So while he's there with his kids, suddenly he sees a news report about somebody running around in his old Ronin costume. And if you remember in Endgame, he created that costume so he can go around killing all the bad guys who did not get snapped away by Thanos because he was angry about losing his entire family. He decides he needs to recover it because, you know, if it ever gets back that he was Ronin, things can go bad. Meanwhile, there's a rich girl named Kate Bishop who, idolizes Hawkeye, and you see in the beginning episode a flashback to the attack on New York where she witnesses Hawkeye fighting the Jahari and inadvertently saves her life during it. And so she's inspired to study martial arts, to study archery, and she looks up to him a lot, which is something that I really liked, and her character appreciates the things that Clint had done. It's not one of those, what's been going on a lot lately in shows where the girl's got to feel like she's better than the male character and she has to put the male character down or rolls her eyes at him. No. She actually respects him and looks up to him. Well, she gets dragged to one of her mom's charity parties and she discovers this underground auction, and she's the one who gets a hold of the Ronin costume. Well, things start spiraling out of control. Clint and her have to team up. They have to face Echo and her team of tracksuit mafia. And he's got to clear Kate's name for the Ronin thing. He's got to get this all done in time for Christmas because he promised his kids and wife he'd be home for Christmas. And I have to say, now I've watched all the Disney Plus Marvel shows, and my thoughts are WandaVision started off interesting and then just kind of slid downhill, and it ended to me very rushed, and I didn't like the ending at all. They had a lot of opportunity there to use certain characters in a certain way, and it was like, ugh, no, we're not even going to go there. And it was disappointing because there was a lot of hype, and Falcon and Winter Soldier was a little better in the beginning. It was, you know, kept up the story, but then I felt like once they got into Sam putting on the Captain America suit, there was a lot of preaching, and it was just after a while, yeah, I still want Bucky as Cap. Oh, sorry, that's my personal opinion. I watched Loki, and Loki, which could have been a really interesting show with a character who could have been really conniving and using all his skills, kind of felt sidelined to me. So I was really disappointed in Loki. I was also very disappointed in What If, and I did reviews on What If. I think I only liked one episode, and that was the Doctor Strange episode. Everything else was just like, oh god, no. So, comparing all that, to get back on track here, Hawkeye, I felt out of all the Disney Plus shows, was the better show. Was it a great show? No, but it was definitely a better show. It was only 6 episodes, and unlike the other shows, it actually kept on track with the main plot of the story. I felt a lot of the other ones kind of went off the rails for a while into different things that I felt like we don't have time to explore this with these many episodes. So let's not, okay? Let's just skip it. Like the long talks inside the train and Loki between him and Sylvie, and yeah, I felt like Hawkeye kept to the plot. It developed a really good relationship between the two characters of Kate Bishop and Clint Barton. You know, he is not very comfortable at all at dealing with this girl because he's not very comfortable with what he did prior during Endgame as Ronin. He doesn't feel he's really a hero because of those actions. He wants this girl to like stay as far away, but at the same time, he knows it's not going to be easy to convince her because she is determined, because her mother's involved in all this, her potential stepfather, and also these mobsters. So she's kind of seeing this as an opportunity to like protect her mother and also prove herself to Clint. And you see her with the realization of what she's getting herself into is kind of over her head, and she gets knocked down a lot, which is another thing that's refreshing because I feel like now everybody's too afraid to make female characters, I should say, vulnerable and imperfect or have to struggle and earn that position. I feel like they think, oh, that makes them look weak and unlikable, and I don't think that's true. I always like character development, and I like seeing a character starting on the bottom and moving their way up to the top, and I think Kate has that potential. He also calls out her BS a lot, which I love when she goes on about how, they call me the greatest archer in the world, and he kind of looks at her and goes, are you one of those people? Which, he knows that this kid is going to get herself killed, so he just eventually gives in and decides he's going to, like, make sure he keeps her close and safe, and their relationship is great. They have a really good partnership. It's not her trying to take over his position, which is what my fear was going into this show. Now, the other characters in the show, you have Echo, who, if you've read the comics, she is the adopted daughter of a certain Daredevil villain, and she is, deaf. Her character in this I kind of felt like she got, like, the short end of the stick, but I was expecting somebody was going to with the amount of episodes we had. I know they're going to probably try to give her her own storyline, her own series, I heard. I don't know if that's true. She kind of, like, you had some interesting things pretty much pulled from the comics about her dad getting killed, her dad having a partnership with this certain villain. You probably know who I'm talking about if you've seen the show. But it's kind of like she's, like, hell-bent on vengeance, and that's where her imperfection is, to the point where even people on our own team are like, you gotta, like, you gotta step back because you're gonna get us all killed. And Clint's frustrated because he's got to deal with her rage because he knows he's the one who killed her dad, even though technically it was somebody else. If you watch the show, you'll find out. Also there is Kate's mom, who I kind of knew from the beginning that her mom was up to no good. You kind of like predict that she is not telling Kate everything. But she did a good job. It was just like you kind of picked up on it right away, what was really going on with the mom. Also, you had the stepfather, who happens to be Swordsman. Now, Swordsman in the comic was someone Clint knew from his days with the Circus of Thieves. And in this, he is a wealthy guy who wants to marry Kate's mom. And he's kind of more the comedy relief, which was kind of like, but then again, I guess with that type of character, how do you make him serious? I mean, I think you can, but he wasn't really as relevant to the story as everybody else. He did play some parts into it, but I think if you took those parts away, it would still flow the way it did. So it was kind of like, I was kind of hoping they would get into Clint's backstory of his time before S.H.I.E.L.D., his time before the Avengers, like, how he ended up there. I was kind of hoping they would pull from his original origins, but they didn't. I mean, I was like, you got Swordsman. You could have done it. There was also, like, the Tracksuit Mafias are definitely almost pretty much to the T like the characters in the Matt Fraction comic. The difference is they're working with Echo, but they're all, like, the cheesy Russian accents, and Clint getting into hijinks fighting them. You also have Pizza Dog, who doesn't have as much of a part in this series as he did in the comic. He kind of had, like, a little bit more relevance on why he ended up living with Clint and then moving on with Kate. I know it's not as important, but it was just kind of like he's there and she just takes him in, and that's pretty much it. I think they didn't want to use what happened in the story and how he ended up with them, because I think maybe some people might have been triggered by it, but whatever. You also have Yulana, the sister, or kind of sister of Natasha Romanoff, the Black Widow. And if you saw the movie and you saw the after credit scene, if not, spoilers, she was told by the Contessa that Clint killed her sister, so she's there to kill Clint. And she gets hired by somebody in the show to do it. And she has this motivation believing he killed Natasha, and she's kind of like that character who suddenly shows up while they're fighting the main bad guys of the show just to kind of like interrupt things. Again, Florence Pugh is hilarious. I actually like her a lot in this role, even though the character is completely different from what it is in the comics. She has a lot of good humor. Her banter with Kate is funny. It just kind of feels like they put her in here just to be kind of like that extra foil that's like, oh great, here's another obstacle we don't need right now in the middle of this whole fight. But she does have her moment with Clint, and things are found out and all. But I kind of felt like, yeah, as much as I liked the character and I liked how she's portrayed, I didn't know if she really needed to be there. They could have saved that for something else. Again, she wasn't like really connected with the main villains. She just happened to be like, what was it, Jason Statham in that one Fast and the Furious movie where you thought he was the main villain and he wasn't. They were fighting other people and he kept just showing up to shoot at Vin Diesel and Paul Walker. That's what it felt like for me. Overall, the plot, I said, it kept to the point. It kept on the storyline. It didn't stray too much. Any little side story is kind of tied into what was happening. You do get a little more info on Clint's wife as things go along and why she's so okay with him in this lifestyle. You also learn, like, you see the trauma with Clint dealing with his time as Ronin, and also the physical effects that it had on him as an Avenger. You find out all that explosions and everything is what caused his hearing loss. That's kind of nice to show you the human side, because Clint is probably the most human out of all the Avengers. He doesn't have a special suit. He doesn't have superpowers. He's not an alien. He's not a god. He didn't have exposure to any kind of radiation. He is just the archer in the group. As he said in like Age of Ultron, I'm just a guy with a bow and an arrow. But he gets to really shine in this show, is what I also liked. You get to see all the trick arrows. I kind of like, you got glimpses of it in the movies, but you didn't really get to see him go all out. And there's this one scene in the last episode where he just goes all out with the whole trick arrows and everything, and it's great. I loved it. Also, the big reveal at the end was great, but this character that they reveal, they kind of give you the impression that it's a one and done, but I don't think so, because for this character, he plays a big part in the Marvel universe. So to finally bring him into the MCU and then just not do anything with him kind of feels a little odd. But then again, I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, they brought Evan Peters into WandaVision, and then it was just kind of like, okay, boner, really? So I'm hoping that this character does continue on, because I think this portrayal of this character is the best I've seen of it. There hasn't been too many others, but he is definitely the right cast for this. And what I know from Spider-Man No Way Home, there's a possibility this is going to continue. But it just kind of like, his character doesn't show up until the very last episode, so you're kind of like, oh, I wanted a little more with him. And I mean, that's a good thing. You want to keep people interested. But I'm just kind of hoping that it's not a one and done. Let's keep using this guy. Please keep using him, all right? You're doing something right with Hawkeye. Again, it's not the best show, but out of all the Disney Plus shows, it is definitely the best one amongst them when it comes to Marvel. I hope they keep on, like, this is what I rather them do. Like, if you're going to do 6 episodes, stick to the main story. Stick to subplots that deal with the main story, or kind of like help you understand the character and what they're going through with the main story. I felt like the other shows kind of drifted off and just kind of like didn't know what to do and how to. They wanted to tell too much in too little of time, because when you're doing short miniseries, you gotta cut out the crap. And I felt like Hawkeye did that better than all the other shows. I felt like Hawkeye knew what the objective was. Let's stay with the objective and let's just focus on that. Everything else can be explained sometime later, somewhere else, maybe in another season, maybe in another movie. But we don't need all this. I kind of felt like Black Widow didn't really need to be there for this, but I don't think it hindered the show. Again, the villains, I felt like Echo kind of like fell into the background. It was more of a setup for what you got in the last episode than it was giving her a chance to show what she can really be. And there was potential there. I actually like the casting of Echo, and I'm thinking, let's see where this goes. Okay, hopefully whatever they're going to do with her next, she gets a little bit more time and they put her in the right place, because the one thing I hate is when they take a character and put it in a situation that doesn't match anything what that character's capable of doing, unless it's something like Hawkeye with the Avengers. But this was, again, out of all the Disney Plus Marvel shows, the best show. Jeremy Renner did a great job. Haley Steinfeld did a really good job by Kate Bishop. I like this version of Kate Bishop way better than I do in the comic. I did not really like how they wrote her much in the Matt Fraction book. I haven't really followed her too much outside of that, except for Young Avengers. But I did like this. I like the portrayals. I think you had the right cast for the right people, and it didn't fall off track. And that was my complaint with the other shows. Like, they didn't know how to put their story in a short amount of time. Like, you only have 6 to 9 episodes, so there was a lot of stuff we didn't need to know about, or there was a lot of stuff they spent too much time on that could have been cut down a lot. They should learn from Hawkeye. This was definitely an improvement from what happened before, and I'm hoping that the MCU on Disney Plus continues to do that. They learn from what the mistakes they made, and they keep doing with Hawkeye, but even better. I hope that makes sense. I'm tired, and I'm not sounding the best right now. But yeah, I would definitely recommend Hawkeye. Again, do I think it's great? No, but I think it's a hell of a lot better than what Disney Plus has been giving us when it comes to Marvel. And, it might keep me interested in seeing what the next Disney Plus shows are going to be like. Though I'm not really excited for Miss Marvel. Sorry. But I'm interested in Moon Knight. I really want to see how that plays out. So, tell me, have you watched Hawkeye? Did you like Hawkeye? Did you not like Hawkeye? Go ahead, comment down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I will see you in the next video, and I hope I sound better then. Bye.